Each day, across our country, there are countless untold stories of bravery and heroism. One never knows when they'll find themselves in a situation where they may be the difference between life and death. That was certainly the case for Heather Baker as she arrived at school for an early morning meeting that took a sudden, terrifying turn.
So on February 1st, 2018, I experienced sudden cardiac arrest. But when I woke up that morning, I felt completely normal. I was 28 years old in a new job as a curriculum director at Pecatonica School District. I woke up, drove to work, walked into a meeting, was laughing, talking with my colleagues, and all of a sudden I collapsed and my heart had stopped.
Previously, I had smaller instances where there were some medical issues, but nothing as significant or as great as this. I would say it took about 30 seconds to determine that she was this was a serious situation, and she had collapsed on the floor, just watching her reaction and then essentially following the training that was provided, probably the most important part is we did CPR training on January the 4th, so it wasn't that far removed.
So the thoughts running through my head were, here is a 20-some-year-old beautiful young person, not been married too long, got a whole life ahead of her, and she's having cardiac arrest right here in our office.
911, where's your emergency?
So the drive to me is that she's not going to pass away or die on my watch.
It was that resolve, determination, and teamwork that allowed Heather to be stabilized until the paramedics arrived. Though she still had a pulse, the outlook was grim. Less than 10% of those who experience cardiac arrest outside of a hospital survive the trauma. Upon arrival, she was placed into a medically induced coma as doctors delivered the news to a room of anxious family and friends.
I often say that I think that this experience was harder for my colleagues and my family than it was for me. For all intents and purposes, I fell asleep, didn't know what was going on, and woke up a couple days later. But for my family, their loved one was in a coma, and my mom, my dad, my sister, and my husband were told, we don't know if she's ever going to wake up again.
The joy and news of her recovery was, that's absolutely wonderful. Obviously that's the best case scenario. And we were hoping and praying for that. It's exactly what we got, and that she still had a road to recovery and some things that she had to be able to take care of.
I made the conscious decision to become a CPR AED instructor about a couple months after my cardiac arrest. And I wanted to do that again as an educator, to be able to educate the masses and to be able to help people be prepared in this situation. It is super gratifying for me. I've been able to teach people of almost all ages, instilling confidence in others that if there were an emergency, they would know what to do.
Heather has already trained thousands of others in the life-saving techniques that saved her. She feels fortunate not only to have survived, but to have found a calling to pay it forward to others.
I do believe that near-death experiences change people for the better and forever. I've been able to see how grateful I am to be here, and I chose to do a lot of things to give back to others. So teaching CPR, getting my doctorate, and just chasing dreams that I may not have pursued before.
Thanks to the quick thinking of her colleagues, Heather is now the principal at Dorothy Simon Elementary School in Winnebago, Illinois, where she's making the most of her second chance in life.
My heroes are incredible people, and I always like to say that they are average, everyday people. These are wonderful colleagues that showed up to work not expecting me to be dead on the floor, but they chose to jump into action, and for that I can never thank them enough. We've all remained very close as friends, and I appreciate them more than words could ever say.